Can a priest murder 8,000 people and still call himself a servant of God? Father Filipović thought so. Every morning he celebrated Mass. Every afternoon he selected prisoners for execution. Every evening he signed death warrants with the same hand that blessed the sacrament. When they finally caught him, when they put him on trial, when they asked him, "How could you?" he had an answer. And it was worse than the silence. Miroslav Filipović, born 1915, Croatia, small village, ordinary childhood, religious family, and from a young age, a decision. I'm going to be a priest. I'm going to serve God. I'm going to save people. In the 1930s, he entered seminary, studied theology, learned Latin, memorized sacred texts. In 1939, he joined the clergy. Father Filipović now, Franciscan order, brown robe, cross necklace, soft-spoken sermons. People trusted him because he was a man of God, a bridge between God and man. But this bridge was about to become the gateway to hell. 1941, World War II reached the Balkans, Nazi Germany invaded Yugoslavia, and something happened here. The Croatian fascist movement, the Ustasha, took power under Ante Pavelić's leadership. Croatian nationalism, Catholic identity, hatred of Serbs, these were the Ustasha's foundations. And priests, some priests supported this movement. Why? Because the Ustasha defended Catholic Croatian identity against Orthodox Serbs. And Father Filipović was one of those priests. He didn't just support it, he joined, actively. He didn't take off his cassock, quite the opposite, he wore it with pride. I am a Croatian priest and an Ustasha militant, he said, and this was just the beginning. Jasenovac, have you heard this name? Most people haven't, but for the Balkans, what Auschwitz is, Jasenovac is. Established by the Ustasha in 1941, on the banks of the Sava River, in Croatia, officially called a labor camp. In reality, death camp. Serbs, Jews, Roma, communists, dissidents, all sent there and killed there. But Jasenovac had a special feature. It wasn't Nazi style, more primitive, more savage. No gas chambers, no industrial scale killing. Instead, hammer, axe, knife, hands. At Jasenovac, people were killed slowly, by torture, by starvation, by beating. And at this camp, in 1942, Father Filipović became commandant. Think about this. A concentration camp commandant who's a priest. He wakes up in the morning, puts on his cassock, puts on his cross necklace, goes to Mass, speaks the name of Jesus, says, "Deliver us from evil," then goes to the camp and decides who dies that day. What kind of mentality is this? What kind of moral collapse? For Filipović, there was no contradiction, because he saw Serbs as the enemy, because of their Orthodox faith, as a threat to the Croatian nation, and to create a Catholic Croatia, they had to be eliminated. This was his logic. Twisted, sick, savage logic. But for him, it was consistent. 8,000. Where does this number come from? Court records, witness testimonies, signed documents, documents where Filipović signed death orders with his own hand, each one a name, each one a person, people with families, with children, with dreams, and Filipović signed each of their death warrants, sometimes in bulk. 200 people today like that, sometimes individual. This man, tomorrow, calmly, without hesitation, and some evenings he'd go to Mass again, pray. For forgiveness of his sins? No. Because in his mind, he wasn't committing sin. He was doing God's work. There were children at Jasenovac too, Serbian children, Jewish children, Roma children, torn from their families, starving, dying of disease. And what did Filipović do to these children? He didn't send salvation. He didn't show mercy. He had them killed. A witness testified at the trial. I saw Father Filipović bless a child in the morning. I saw him kill that same child in the afternoon. Same child. Same day. Morning blessing. Afternoon death. What kind of state of mind is this? What kind of coldness? I can't understand it. History can't understand it, but it happened. At Jasenovac it happened. Under Filipović's command, it happened. The killing methods at Jasenovac were particularly merciless because they weren't industrialized, not efficient like Auschwitz. Here, every death was individual, personal. Some had their throats cut, some were beaten to death with hammers, some from starvation, some from torture. A group of prisoners was thrown into the Sava River, hands tied, left to drown. Another group was taken outside in winter, stripped naked, left to freeze to death. And all of this happened with Filipović's approval, sometimes his direct orders. He wasn't just a bureaucrat signing papers. He was an active participant. He personally witnessed some executions. He was present at some, and he never showed any discomfort. Spring 1945. The war is ending. Nazi Germany is collapsing. The Ustasha regime is collapsing too. Yugoslav partisans are taking back the country under Josip Broz Tito's leadership. In May, they reached Jasenovac. They found the camp. They found the corpses. They found the mass graves. They found a few surviving witnesses, and they were enraged because this wasn't just a war crime. This was genocide. Systematic, planned, disgusting. The partisans immediately launched an investigation. Who was responsible? They asked. Names came. Ustasha commanders, camp personnel, and one name stood out: Father Miroslav Filipović, priest, camp commandant, responsible for 8,000 deaths. Filipović fled at the war's end, took off his cassock, put on civilian clothes, tried to disappear. Maybe to Italy, maybe to Austria. The escape route for Nazi war criminals. There were networks called rat lines. The Catholic Church even helped in some cases. But Filipović wasn't lucky. Or maybe he was too famous. Because Jasenovac survivors knew him, hadn't forgotten his face. In early 1946, he was caught in Bosnia while hiding. Yugoslav authorities took him to Belgrade for trial, and there the world would see his true face. Belgrade Military Tribunal, 1946. Filipović sitting in the defendant's chair, no longer wearing his cassock, looking like an ordinary man. But the courtroom isn't ordinary. Survivors are there, witnesses are there, journalists are there, and Filipović is testifying, at first denying it. I was just a priest. I provided spiritual support at the camp, he says. Witnesses step forward. Lies. He was the commandant. He signed the orders. He gave the commands. Documents are shown. Signed death warrants. Filipović's handwriting. Undeniable. Filipović changes his strategy. I was following orders, he says. The Ustasha government forced me. The prosecutor asks, weren't you a priest? Didn't you have responsibility to God? Filipović answers, and this answer froze the room. God understands me, he said, because I did God's work. Protecting the Croatian nation was God's will. The Serbs were the enemy. Eliminating them was my duty. Silence. Everyone in the courtroom froze. A priest was defending 8,000 deaths as God's work. No remorse, no shame, just cold, twisted logic. The prosecutor asked, were the children enemies too? Filipović didn't hesitate. They were Serbian children. When they grew up, they would be enemies. The room exploded, shouting, crying. The judge banged the gavel. Silence was restored, but everyone understood. Filipović wasn't sorry. He still thought he was right, and that was more terrifying than his crime. Throughout the trial, dozens of witnesses testified, people who survived Jasenovac. Each one knew Filipović. A woman testified, they strangled my son in front of him. Father Filipović watched, said nothing, then left. Another man, when he beat us, I saw him that evening at Mass, praying like nothing had happened. A young girl, my sister was killed on his orders. She was 14. She'd done nothing wrong. She was just Serbian. The testimonies went on for hours. Filipović listened at first, then stopped looking, avoided eye contact, but there was no remorse on his face, just fatigue, as if the trial were a formality. He already knew what the outcome would be. Filipović's lawyer was desperate. What could he say? He couldn't say, my client is innocent because the documents were there. Couldn't say, he's remorseful because Filipović wasn't. The only defense, it was wartime. There were orders. He was just obeying. But even this wasn't convincing, because Filipović wasn't a soldier. He was a priest. He had a choice. He was protected by the clergy. If he hadn't wanted to, he might not have gone to Jasenovac. But he went, voluntarily. And not only did he go, he became commandant. He organized thousands of deaths. This wasn't obedience. This was participation. And the court saw that. May 1946, the court announced its verdict. Filipović found guilty. War crimes, crimes against humanity, genocide, mass murder. Sentence, death. Execution. When Filipović heard the verdict, he didn't react, didn't blink, just lowered his head. The survivors in the room applauded, cried, hugged each other. Justice was coming, late but coming. But one question still hung in the air. How could a priest go this far? How could he cause so many deaths and still think he was right? The answer maybe is this: ideology. For Filipović, Croatian nationalism, Catholic identity, hatred of Serbs, these became stronger than religion. Religion became a tool, a justification tool. By saying God's work, he silenced his conscience. And that might be the most terrifying part. May 29, 1946. Belgrade, execution gallows, 6 a.m. Filipović was brought from his cell. In his final moments, did he want to see a priest? Records are unclear. Some say yes, some say no. But if he did, what did they talk about? Did he confess his sins? Did he confess? We don't know. He was led to the gallows. The rope was placed around his neck. He was asked for final words. Filipović said only one thing: God will forgive me. That's all. God will forgive me. 8,000 deaths, 8,000 families, 8,000 lives. And he thought God would forgive. Maybe he had to think that, because the world wouldn't forgive him. History wouldn't forgive him. Those survivors wouldn't forgive him. The trapdoor opened. The rope tightened. Father Miroslav Filipović died. He was 31 years old. Filipović died, but Jasenovac's legacy didn't end. That camp is a museum today, a memorial, a place of remembrance. Estimates say between 80,000 and 100,000 people died there. The exact number isn't known because records aren't complete. Most Ustasha documents were destroyed, but there are survivor testimonies. There are photographs. There are mass graves, and these must not be forgotten, because Jasenovac wasn't just a Nazi camp. It was a Croatian camp, an Ustasha camp, and this shows us that genocide wasn't only committed by Germans. Collaborators did it too. Local fascists did it, and sometimes even priests did it. The Catholic Church's relationship with Filipović was complicated. During the war, some Catholic leaders supported the Ustasha in the name of defending Croatian Catholic identity, but Filipović went too far, so far that even the church was uncomfortable with him. In 1943, while the war was still ongoing, the Vatican defrocked Filipović. It's called laicization. He was no longer a priest. But was this enough? No, because Filipović wasn't acting like a priest anyway. Wearing a cassock, wearing a cross, it changed nothing. He was a murderous killer, and the church had reacted too late. Filipović wasn't alone. There were other priests who supported the Ustasha regime. Most famous was Dionizije Jurićev, another Franciscan priest who did propaganda for the Ustasha. Vilim Sichelja, another priest, provided logistical support. And at the highest level, Zagreb Archbishop Aloysius Stepinac, a controversial figure. Some see him as an Ustasha sympathizer, some as a resistance figure. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. But what's certain is this: part of the Catholic Church supported the Ustasha regime, or at least turned a blind eye. And that's a very painful truth. How did Filipović become this way? This question has occupied historians and psychologists. Some theories: 1. Ideological fanaticism. Croatian nationalism blinded him, made him justify inhuman acts. 2. Desensitization. Over time, he became numb to violence. The first murder was hard. The next 7,999 got progressively easier. 3. God complex. Camp command gave him absolute power. He decided life and death. This made him feel like God. Arrogance and sadism combined. 4. Social support. The Ustasha regime approved of him. His friends supported him. He never had to face his conscience. Maybe all of these are true, maybe none of them are sufficient explanation, but the result is the same. A priest caused thousands of innocents to die. If you go to Jasenovac today, you'll see a memorial called The Flower, designed by Bogdan Bogdanović. Concrete and stone reaching toward the sky in memory of the victims. Every year, survivors and their families gather there, lay wreaths, pray, remember, because to forget is to forgive. And this is unforgivable. People like Filipović must remain on history's darkest pages as a warning, as a reminder. Ideology can corrupt religion, power can kill conscience, and ordinary people can do terrible things if we allow it. Father Filipović died in 1946, but his story didn't die because he wasn't just one man. He was a symptom of fascism, of nationalism, of blind obedience, and of the denial of responsibility. Today, there are still Filipović in the world. Maybe they're not wearing cassocks. Maybe they're wearing different uniforms. Maybe they have no uniforms at all. But they're operating with the same logic. I'm right. They're the enemy. They must be eliminated. And how do we, as history, respond to this? By remembering, by documenting, and by saying never again. Filipović's story isn't a priest's story. It's the story of humanity's darkest potential. And if we're going to learn one lesson from this story, it should be this. No one, no ideology, no belief can justify the death of innocents, ever.